I own a $400,000 ring.
My 2 new world famous oil wells.
मेरे बेटे का शादी.
I just had my 4th wedding anniversary last week, so my mom was sending me my wedding pictures, and till date, it makes her so happy thinking about the wedding they threw for me. It's actually very sweet. You know, Indian weddings, in fact, are such a pompous, grand, luxurious affair. I mean, did you see Anand Ambani's pre-wedding events? Americans on Twitter were so angry that Rihanna hasn't done a performance in years, but she is going and performing for Anand Ambani's wedding party. From Mark Zuckerberg to Bill Gates, we literally have the largest names at the wedding, and budget for the wedding apparently was 900 crores. That is insane. You know, these Ambanis are outliers. But I also know that majority of Indian families end up spending a lot of money on the weddings. But what I didn't know was how much they are spending and just how massive this industry is. Let me share some numbers with you. Did you know about 1 crore weddings take place in India every year? And last year, between November and December alone, 35 lakh weddings took place, generating 4.25 lakh crores. Indians, in fact, are spending about $130 billion on weddings annually, which makes it the 4th largest industry in the country, ahead of steel, cars, and tech. I had no idea. And think about it, 65% of our population is right now below the age of 35 years, a large part of whom are set to marry in the coming years. So the Indian wedding industry is set to become the biggest in the world. I mean, just imagine the opportunity here. This is exactly what I want to break down for you in this video. Why this industry is so big, how it works, what are people looking for spending on, so some of you can tap into it and build some massive businesses. Let's start with why it works. I have a question for all of you. Why do you think people spend money on luxury clothes, or why do you think people make their weddings so flashy? Do you know Indians are willing to spend 20% of their lifetime income on this 2 to 3 day event? Now a lot of you will think, oh, it's traditions, it's in our culture, you know, there's also societal pressure. Now, all of this we know, but what is the root of all of this? Where does it stem from? The answer is status signaling. You see, humans are very status-driven creatures, and how it plays out is different across cultures. But if you study evolutionary psychology, you'll understand how status is linked to survival and reproductive advantages. High-status individuals have better access to resources, mates, social support, hence increasing their chances of survival. You know, not just as humans, by the way. If you ever read Jordan Peterson's original book, The 12 Rules of Life, he talks about lobsters, which are literally more than 350 million years old, also have social hierarchies where the baddest and the highest status lobster attracts the most female lobsters and lives the best life. So I feel like businesses that tap into the needs that are so innate to us humans can always have high margins and high TAMs. Basically any business that enables status signaling, whether it's your fancy car, your Air Jordans, iPhones, or weddings. And India also is in fact a very status-driven culture. I was listening to this podcast by Kunal Shah where he was mentioning how most people spend close to 6 times their annual salary for their wedding. But there are literally 0 unicorn startups solving wedding problems. And there's this another very interesting insight he gave where he was like, I was talking to a founder of this suitcase company who was telling him that 80 to 83% of all suitcases in India are bought for weddings. The bride takes new suitcases and goes to the new family, and there are 4.4 million weddings that happen almost every year. And on an average, close to 3 to 4 suitcases move with her to the new house. This is very intriguing and also something very important to understand because this is a very common rookie founder mistake I see. See, a lot of you might want to build a company selling some fancy tech that sounds cool, but what you need to understand is what is it that India actually pays for? What are Indians spending their money on, and what people actually care about every single time you're thinking of starting a business? See, a luggage or suitcase business might not sound very cool, but it makes money. So the primary question that needs to be answered is, what are Indians spending their money on?
Whoa, stop. Did you like the way that video was edited? Well, I'm doing a free masterclass where I will be breaking down the entire fundamentals of video editing and how you can understand video editing and go on to get packages like 30 LPA. So if you're interested, click the link in the description to register for the masterclass.
I want to share one more stat with you. So I was reading the Affluent India report by Goldman Sachs. I want you to look at this graph. The affluent class of India is growing. That is, people who make more than $10,000 have grown at a rate of 12 to 13% in the last 4 years, even though our population hasn't grown at this rate. So the number of people who are getting rich in India is increasing, and this is another signal that the wedding market is going to explode further. In fact, have you seen the kind of weddings that have happened on Instagram last year? And there are some very amusing trends that are upcoming. Like, look at these pre-wedding shoots. A lot of people before their weddings will go to all of these fancy destinations and make music videos that literally look like a Bollywood music video. It is very intense. Somebody I know replicated a scene from a Shah Rukh Khan movie for their pre-wedding shoot. And look at this clip I found on YouTube. This is wild. One more very intriguing business I found was this one. Did you know you can invite foreigners to your wedding and they are willing to pay up to $200 to $300 to attend your wedding? I mean, you can literally monetize your own wedding. See, I'm not trying to make fun of these practices here. It's people's personal choices. I'm just trying to understand the opportunity so I can show you what people are spending money on. Let me break down this industry further. Today, while food is still a very essential part of weddings, the wedding bill has been divided into various things. Put simply, the wedding industry has two components, that's goods and services. Now, under that, there are various components that make this industry a 3.7 lakh crore economy. So, catering and menu services take up about 30%, gifts take up 19%, decoration 14%, event planning 12%, logistics 9%, honeymoon 8%, photography 3%, makeup 3%, and invites 2%. And there is scope for growth literally every segment. If you look at the matrimony market, its services have grown by 130% year over year. You remember Seema auntie from Indian Matchmaking? You know she charges around 1 lakh to 5 lakh per client. Now let's look at clothing, which we know is a very important part of all the wedding revelry. So according to Technopack, the total Indian ethnic wear market is valued at 70,000 crores, where women's ethnic wear has 85% share in the market and is expected to grow at 15 to 17% between 2022 to 2025. From this, around 10,000 crore worth of apparels are bought every year just for weddings. And data shows that 85% of this market is dominated by unorganized players. I think there's scope for many more ethnic wear brands beyond Manyavar to scale here. Now coming to jewelry, around 60,000 crores worth of jewelry is bought every year for weddings in India. If you look at hospitality, over 5,000 crore worth of hotel rooms are booked just for weddings every year. Now let me talk about wedding planning. See, a wedding event now is not just about the wedding day anymore. Now you have proposals, you have pre-wedding shoots, you have bridal showers, you have sangeet, you have bachelorettes, you have mehendi, cocktail, then you have the wedding ceremony, then you have reception, and then the honeymoon. And the way these weddings are being planned and organized now is also evolving. For example, drone technology has become a very common way to capture images in weddings now. 3D design softwares are being used to create whole venues to plan grand weddings. I was reading about this one couple who really wanted their wedding in Jaipur, but since they didn't find a venue, they literally made a whole set that looked like Jaipur in their hometown. Now, I'm going to help you understand the ideal customer profile who you need to target if you are starting a business in this industry. So, according to WedMeGood, 56% planners cited that when it comes to picking and choosing the decor, the clothing, and making all the decisions, the majority of the decisions are taken by the bride. Point to note here is that this data is mainly from affluent classes and people who have the money and are spending high amounts on weddings. And honestly, I think that should also be your TG because you will be able to make higher margins if you're targeting this target group. Now, while brides are the major decision makers and who you need to be targeting for your marketing and branding purposes, they're not always the financiers. 30% of weddings are funded entirely by parents, with 70% of brides and grooms investing in various projects. Another data point here. If you further deep dive into the cost split between the bride and the groom's family, 32% indicated that the financial burden falls on the bride's family. Again, point to note here is the folks who fill this survey are from urban areas with progressive views. I don't think this is the trend even close to the truth when you look at majority of India. Moving on, let's talk about how social media is influencing weddings. While 65% people rely on personal preferences, family, friends, and parental input for wedding decisions, online reviews and social media content is gaining traction while making choices about the wedding. Additionally, I feel like a lot of the wedding trends trickle down from Bollywood and the internet now. Think about it. Who made these brands like Sabyasachi, Manish Malhotra popular? It's Bollywood culture and movies, right? Indians want to feel like these Bollywood celebrities, like royalty, dressed in these attires for those 2-3 days of their wedding. Additionally, I also think the trend of these Instagrammable weddings are huge, and I recently saw a few creators who've grown from some 20,000, 30,000 followers to literally 300, 400k followers within weeks just through their wedding content. So weddings are also becoming content opportunities and a means to flex on Instagram. And just the sheer fact that these videos are pulling tens and 20 million views signals something here. Honestly, I have this theory that most of these events like weddings or special events, they feel more special in hindsight than in the moment, because in the moment, I feel like it's an enormous logistical task, right? Like, I don't know who actually enjoys wearing like these 10-20 kg lehengas, feeling sweaty, not able to move, standing and posing with 500 people that they'll probably never see again. But I feel like when people look back upon their pictures and are reminiscing the same moment, they feel happy about it, so it feels like it was all worth it. Anyway, I don't think these trends are going to go away for a long time. Also, one more point I want to call out here is this industry is recession proof. So whether people are making money or not making money, people are still willing to spend insane amount of money on weddings. So there's a massive opportunity for you to build something valuable in this market. Now, for all of those people who are going to be married in the next 5 years or 10 years, just a word of caution here. Don't fall under societal pressure to throw a large wedding if it does not suit your financial situation. You need to decide what you want, whether it's a small wedding, whether it's a big wedding, if you want to flex, you don't want to flex, whether you want a social signal, it is all your choice. But have the awareness of why you're spending this much money, what you're actually doing it for. You need to look at your personal runway, what this day means to you and your families, whether it might be more prudent to save this money for financial assets that will appreciate in the future. And by the way, there's one very good news for all the people who are going to get married now. You know, the gifts that newlywed couples receive from their immediate family members on the occasion of their marriage are not taxable in India under Section 56 of the Income Tax Act. So the money that your parents have saved for your wedding, they can actually just give it to you as a gift and you won't have to pay any tax on it, and you can invest it in financial assets that will grow. But again, weddings are an emotional decision, so it's going to be your call. But whatever you decide, try to be a little more rational about it. That is it from me today. My name is Achina Maya. Thank you for watching today's video, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.